Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Anonymous, and here's her story. This is my story regarding my narcissistic in-laws and my experiences with them, as well as the dynamics of my marriage. I hope this is not all over the place. I just write as I remember things. Firstly, they have 3 boys, my husband Nick being the oldest. Their second oldest, Harry, has never left home, and last we knew, he was still living with them in his mid-30s. He has never dated and rarely leaves the house except to go to work. He gets extremely agitated if there are visitors. He stays in his room playing video games and computer games and has no social interactions whatsoever. Their youngest son, Barry, is married to an obese Indian woman, Kavshiri, I guess that's, and lives in Kavshiri's childhood, home with her mother, brother, and brother's girlfriend in a tiny house where he, Barry, must pay their bills and help pay off the debt his wife's late father left when he died a few years ago. Wow. When Barry was offered a place of his own rent-free to stay with his wife, he declined, even though he has previously rightfully stated that her family is really not ideal. Nonetheless, he does whatever Kavshiri wants, no matter how unreasonable or destructive. He doesn't make a lot of money and is often being secretly funded by his father, who is also not rich. To be Kavshiri, yeah, that's how I'm saying that. Kavshiri, and her family's financial needs. Barry had to sell his car to help fund the lavish Bollywood wedding she wanted, much of which was champagne taste on a beer budget. I didn't attend the wedding as it had become evident to me that Barry was simply being used as a cash cow by that family and would continue to be used. I fell out of favor because I could see right through them and couldn't pretend it was okay, unlike my husband and his parents. Although I never explicitly spoke out, my actions were clear that I wanted no part of it. We have been in contact with the entire family for a good 5 years now. Back to Nick's family of origin. His father is a prominent deacon at the Catholic church that I attended with Nick shortly after we met. His mother is an active member of the church. Nick was their only child involved in anything to do with the church. The other sons didn't even attend Mass. After I met Nick, he asked me to convert to Catholic for him because his mother was devout Catholic. I did. By the way, Kavshiri has never been asked or required to convert to anything for anybody. I then took it on myself to join in and became very active in the church and volunteered for many organizations and assisted Nick with his duties as well. It was a heavy toll on me and not rewarding at all, but rather taxing and exhausting. I gained no acknowledgement from his family whatsoever. They didn't even bother to attend my confirmation or anything else I was involved in. Nick said nothing. His parents asked us to host evening Bible study at our house once a week for his mother to teach the Bible. During that time, I was studying a year-long course in sports administration. I had exams weekly and assignments due weekly, and somehow was able to fit Bible study, which I found thoroughly dull and pointless and time-consuming. But I put my best foot forward and hosted like a champ in my home all year long. I didn't think anything of it because my husband loved his family, and I would do the best for them and anyone else he cared about because I cared about him. So I passed my course with 8 distinctions, top student out of 2 colleges, and a top student at the end of the year, but not without my mother-in-law minimizing and belittling my achievement. When Nick spoke of my upcoming graduation, she cut him off abruptly, telling me directly she wasn't going to attend. Many of these types of moments were confusing to me. We never asked her for anything, but she always felt the need to tell me she wasn't doing this or that for me. Shortly after my graduation, the insults began from my in-laws. And I'm already, because I saw pictures of Anonymous, and Anonymous she's South African. She's a black South African female. The family she's talking about is white. I'm wondering, and I don't know yet, I'm wondering if there's some maybe racism in that maybe they view you less than the Indian family because you're black. I don't know. I mean, I know things are pretty, at least we hear in this country, things aren't really too stable in South Africa either. They would make jokes and ridicule my interest in sports and fitness. Many times I found myself feeling dumb for caring about health and wellness. I was preparing for training for an open water swimming race when Nick mentioned this in conversation. My mother-in-law freaked out, saying he needs to make sure I wear kitty armbands. I was mortified. Yeah, it's racist. It's racist. Like, black people can't swim. That's what it is. I swim a 3K race and other shorter distances annually in open water. And although I'm black, there it is. I mean, that's there. Although I'm black, swimming has been and still is my passion, especially since I'm 100% self-taught. Mind you, all my in-laws are overweight or obese. My mother-in-law even brought articles she cut out of a newspaper about a man who drowned during a race at a dam to stop me swimming it, as if I was too stupid to know anything about swimming. My husband laughed it off and brushed it aside while I stood there in total confusion. During that time, my self-esteem, energy, and vitality began to disappear and was replaced by depression and sadness. I had enrolled for exercise and science and personal trainer certification and paid up front, but suddenly found myself with zero ability to even open my study manuals. This family was literally sucking the life out of me, which is what they wanted to do. See, here's my question, Anonymous. Why were they able to knock the shit out of your self-esteem? See, this is what I always tell people who try to jump in later in life, telling me about a narcissist they're married to or involved with in a family that has gotten to their self-esteem. I always have to ask, like, what is it in your past that allowed you to be treated like this in the first place? See, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's a reason why they're able to pull this on you, because this has been done to you by your own family. My engagement to Nick went as follows. One Friday evening, we went to drop off something at his parents' house. While we were sitting in his father's office, his mother appeared with a packet of Always sanitary pads, where she pulled out 3 old dirty rings, which she gave to me, saying, I store these in here because then I know my maid won't steal them. Then she and her husband laughed. When we left, Nick said happily, well, I guess we're engaged. Yeah, I would ask what color the maid is, because I think she's just letting you in on who she is and what she really thinks about you with every word she says. It's kind of like when my mother looked at Charlene on the boat and asked her, what do poor people do for fun? Yeah, I mean, that happened. That's the same mentality. We married about 2 years later. Our wedding consisted of 10 people total. I didn't want a big thing, and instead we pull all monies to the purchase of our home. We married in church and then went to a small cafe outside the church for lunch. There was none of the frills of a proper wedding. It wasn't a day to be celebrated, as I came to realize. Nick's mother was secretly fuming. When Nick and I were taking photos in the garden with our best man and maid of honor, Nick's father came storming out, telling us his mother says we're taking too long and we must come inside the restaurant now. Fuck off, a good too long. At your wedding. You're taking too long at your wedding. Eat shit. At the table, when my sister stood up to make a toast, Nick's mother started loudly clearing her throat and shifting around in her chair, all agitated. Yeah, this is what they do. This is what they do. They ruin your day. I've made video after video after video. The narcissist is never going to miss the opportunity to ruin your day, to shit on your accomplishments. That's all she's about. I was completely distracted by this and could barely concentrate on my sister's speech. Later, mother-in-law pressured everyone to quickly scoff down their dessert because she wanted to leave, like she had somewhere better to be and all this was an inconvenience to her. It was. During all of this, Nick saw nothing wrong, because he's been used to being treated like that his whole life. We received no wedding gifts from anyone in our family. Our entire wedding day was about 2 hours total, just rushed and meaningless. I had planned to make it quaint and special, but ultimately it was horrible, and mostly it seemed geared to be mother-in-law's day rather than about me and Nick. Nick never once stepped in or spoke up against anything his family was doing to me or us as a couple. One time when I complained about his mother's behavior, he said, if it's between you and my family, I choose my family. And another time he yelled in my face, why can't you just forgive? Well, that should have been the end of the relationship right there, Anonymous. It really should have. Should have been, all right, bye. Then go fuck your mother. Like literally. Literally and figuratively. Go fuck your mother. I began to feel very sad and alone. I drank more to numb my sadness while still being a high-functioning alcoholic, enslaved to Nick, his family, his friends, his work colleagues, and his church. The more I needed Nick to buffer me, the more he pulled towards his family and triangulated me with not only them, but everyone else in his life. See, what Nick has done to you, he's married to his family. He just needed somewhere to stick his dick. I hate to be as blunt, but that's the reality. Okay? That's where you married a son husband. You married a son husband. From the looks of them, they're fucking boomers. So they're South African boomers, okay, who are probably there, who were definitely there, probably pro-apartheid at the time. The parents were there for apartheid. They look at you as a lesser person. They see you nothing more, okay, because it's how these church people are. These church people, these son husbands, these domineering mothers, okay. The father's a borderline, probably sounds sexually suspect just by his behavior of him freaking out, going through like that's what's going on. He's already married, okay? The son husband's already married to his mother. He just needs somewhere to stick his dick. The more I needed Nick to buffer me, the more he pulled towards his family and triangulated me not only with them, but with everyone else in his life. I found myself continuously cooking and entertaining for his family's regular visits, birthdays, Mother's Days, Father's Days, and random impromptu visits. On special occasions, we bought gifts for them all. I thought South Africa went through a whole reformation of ending apartheid, so black people didn't have to be slaves and second-class citizens to white people. Yet, that's obviously how they're treating you. Like apartheid never ended. And believe me, South Africa has its problems now, okay? But this is... I never got any gifts whatsoever. They'd buy for Nick, but nothing for me. Instead, my mother-in-law would randomly dump any old outdated junk at me and call it a present. I started to feel like her garbage bin. As far as Nick was concerned, I prepared packed lunches for him to take to work, baked muffins, cookies, and cakes regularly for him, which I found out he was dishing out at work to earn extra approval from his coworkers. On many occasions, I cooked 3-course dinners for his friends or workmates he would invite over. I served as support and refreshment vehicle for him and his cycle friends during their long cycle races over the years. So basically, he treated you like a slave. He treated you like a mammy, is what he's doing. He told you, if it's between you and my family, I choose my family. But now let's go fuck. I'm sorry I gotta say it that way, but you gotta realize who you married. You gotta realize who you married. He sees you nothing more as than a fetish. And you say you haven't been in contact. Both, I guess you're still married? You're not in contact for 5 years? In his polite way, he demanded and used me to help him lose weight. I prepared all his nutritious meals and designed an exercise program, and he lost 10 kg and kept it off. Around his friends, he would laugh with them while they made fun of me and embarrassed me. He said nothing when his racist friends bullied me. I knew that, because he's treating you like a mammy. This is what he's treating you. He triangulated me with other women, one at church, one at work. He used me to do his duties in church and then took the credit. My role was to be his doormat. Earlier in our marriage, he spent all his spare time at his parents' house playing video games with his brother. At one point, he was spending every Saturday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. there. I didn't mind because it made him happy, but it was strange because that same brother never had wanted anything to do with him before we were married. One time, his coworkers started a rumor that he was having an affair with a female at his office. He panicked and called me in a frenzy. I calmed him down and told him I trusted him. Why he was having the affair. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You bought that? He calls you in a panic because his coworker... you bought that bullshit? No, he was having an affair. He was having an affair. Yes, he was absolutely having an affair. 100%. I calmed him down and told him I trusted him and saw no reason to end his friendship over vicious office gossip. You bought that bullshit? I even had him invite the friend over to our house for dinner. He regularly pimped me out to his friends to run their errands and his family to do their admin. Once his mother asked me to do her ironing. She pretended to joke when she saw my horror. By the way, his mother's house is a complete dump. When he decided to pursue further study, I encouraged and supported him. I would bring him freshly baked cookies or muffins and refreshments while he studied, give him study tips and learning tricks and tips. I had set up our spare bedroom to be conducive to a healthy studying environment. He told me his parents had never really cared much about supporting him academically, so he never found studying easy before. But I noticed with me, he was thriving and was achieving more than he knew he could. He even set up a little business on the side, of which I helped him with admin and running errands. Never once mentioned that I helped him to anybody, because he sees you as a servant. He sees you as a literal slave. He sees you as like apartheid never ended. When he was offered a new job, I gave him all the advice and tools to negotiate and transition smoothly. I got zero thanks. Because you don't thank to help. You're a servant. Okay? You're a house Negro as far as he's concerned. You don't thank the house Negro. You don't thank the mammy. You don't thank the bed wench. He sees you nothing more than a bed wench. The son husband's already married to his mother. All he needs is a bed. Don't be the son husband's bed wench. When he was offered a new job, I gave him all the advice and tools to negotiate and transition smoothly. I got zero thanks. With his cycling, I was not only a supported wife, but also a wealth of information and a natural motivator and coach. Every area of his life was enhanced while I was completely used and depleted. I became very sad. He showed me zero concern or compassion. He never addressed his family or any of his friends on their vile behavior towards me, even when it was the morally right thing to do. He never would introduce me to people. I would just stand there like a fool. You don't introduce the bed wench. I'm sorry. You just don't. You don't get it. He never once has taken me to a work function or Christmas party in 9 years. Well, what would that tell you? What does that tell you? Once his mother said to me in his presence, I don't care about you. I'm sorry. Once his mother said to me in his presence, I don't care about you, Anonymous, just as long as you cook and clean for my son. Words like this really cut me deep, but Nick ignored that, just constantly grilled. He didn't ignore it. He already had accepted. You think he's ignoring this? He accepts it. He's already married to his mommy. Words like this really cut me deep, but Nick ignored that, and constantly grilled me about when I was going to start my personal trainer certification. It made me feel guilty and lazy for being unable to do it. My time and energy was all channeled to uplifting him, coddling him, and fending off all his narcissistic people that he put into my life. I didn't know that was happening, and I just drank more and sat on the couch, often crying alone. In 2014, it got so unbearable, I told him I want a divorce. He seemed happy and relieved that he no longer needed to pretend to care about me. He agreed to an amicable separation, and I asked for support financially till I could get on my feet. He graciously agreed, and about a week later said he was taking my car to sell it and get himself a fancy new car. In addition, he was canceling my medical aid, taking my credit card, and giving me an allowance of it's $200 a week. He then forced me to go back to work as a temporary receptionist at the company I'd left years earlier in pursuit of further studies to better myself. Nick also worked at that company. That's where we met. By this stage, he advanced in his career, and during the 2 days I was temping there, he completely ignored me and pounced around with his female coworker friend, the one that had been at our house and he was rumored of having an affair with. You mean the one he was actually having an affair with that you won't accept? I was humiliated in front of all my former coworkers. They laughed behind my back, but Nick found this all okay. Ultimately, I reconciled with him. Why? Why would you reconcile with this piece of shit? Why would you reconcile with this piece? Why did you reconcile? Why? Why did he come back? Why did he come back? Because his side piece fucking dumped him. So he came back to his bed wench. And because you would put up with it. Ultimately, I reconciled with him. I was in a tough spot. He had his family, his money, his job. I had nothing. You didn't even have your self-respect. You could have walked away with your self-respect. You had your certification. You had almost everything ready to go. There's more detail, but this is just a snippet of my relationship with Nick. He reminds me a lot of Chris Watts, the family annihilator, and his behavior. A seemingly unassuming, quiet, helpful, decent, humble guy, but underneath lurks something evil. Also, my observation is Nick and his family are dripping with toxic shame. When I showered him with love, he rewarded me by dumping all their toxic shame onto me. I suddenly became the failure and loser and the slob. I lost my spark and they started to shine as a result of my hard work, but never once acknowledging or reciprocating anything for all I brought into their barren lives. This happened without me without ever seeing any of it. At present, I'm separated from my husband with divorce impending. Thank God, because I was going to suggest to you to leave this fuck and to get a lawyer and take him for everything, because I know the laws in South Africa have changed. I'm looking forward to your analysis of the dynamic, however, as I do an autopsy on what the fuck I was entangled in. Many thanks. Anonymous. Told you what you're what you're entangled in. Okay? And you're a beautiful girl. I mean, there's no reason for this schlub that I'm looking at. And I know you want to... Him? The first thing I got to say to you, and I wish everyone else could see it, is this fucking guy? Really? You let this fucking guy treat you like this? I mean, he looks like a fucking... He looks like a fucking 16-year-old with male pattern baldness. What is it? Like you are so many levels above him. That's first of all. That's why. Okay, your ex-mother-in-law, your soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law is so vicious towards you, okay, because you're fucking 1,000 times better looking than she is. You're 10,000 times too good for her son, and she knows it. You're not even in the same fucking, you're not in the same league, same ballpark, you're not even on the same continent. In that regards. Holy shit, look at this fucking clown. Like, I gotta kind of like, you looked at him and said, yes? Why? Look at him. Understand something. You're dealing with old school boomer racists here. Old school South African boomer racists. Pre-apartheid. Racists. And that's how they treated you. And he's a son husband. And he's already married to his mommy. All he wanted from you, all he needed from you was to be his bed wench. Don't be the son husband's bed wench. That's the analysis of this, Anonymous. That's what happened. The real question is why? Why? Who broke you so badly that you would put up with any of this, that you would get involved with any of these people? You see, if you weren't already broken in your past in the first place, these people wouldn't have come. You wouldn't have given him a second glance, literally. It would have been two strangers passing on the street. Two strangers passing. You wouldn't even, if it was in your class or something, I think you said it was in your class or at your job, you never even would have looked up at your desk at this fucking guy. That's the reality. And what this guy was able to do, look at this fucking guy. Look at him. He looks like a 16-year-old gamer with male pattern baldness and beady little glasses. I mean, that's what he looks like. And because you were already broken, he was able to make you his bed wench. Don't be the son husband's bed wench. Okay? You're divorced. Stay divorced. You're already reconciled with him once. Do not make that mistake again. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for your contribution and story, Anonymous. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to have a private video made, or you'd just like to make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. And believe me, YouTube and Google are going to make that happen sooner or later. They just took out a whole bunch of more channels yesterday as we come up to the election. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. Also, be sure to follow me on the Library Backup app as well. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been the Narcissistic Resistance. Take care.